My memory isn't fantastic. Sometimes I completely forget simple things. I also don't have the best attention span, and and I find it hard to focus on one thing at a time. How much is digital media at fault for this? How does my thinking compare to older generations that didn't grow up with the same technology? And even if the internet is changing our brains, is that necessarily a bad thing? To start, changes in communication and technology have always been met with criticism. Plato's Phaedrus criticizes written language with the quote, "You who are the father of letters, this discovery of yours will create forgetfulness in the learner's souls because they will not use their memories, they will trust to the external written characters and not remember of themselves." In 1492, a German monk named Johann Tremitius wrote his concerns for other monks during the rise of the printing press in his piece In Praise of Scribes, saying, "He who ceases from zeal for writing because of the printing press is no true lover of the scriptures." In the 1800s, a group of English textile workers called the Luddites staged revolts and destroyed new textile machinery for fear that it would take away their jobs. To this day, the term Luddite refers to anyone who resists new technology. Regardless of the resistance, there is hard evidence that the internet is changing our brains. A study conducted by faculty at Columbia, Harvard, and the University of Wisconsin showed that people were much less likely to remember information if they believed that a computer would be storing it. Why memorize information if it's all already right on our phones? The internet has sort of become an external hard drive in that regard. Some think that the lighter pressure to remember specific facts and details frees up brain space for higher level thinking. This is true to an extent. The concept of cognitive offloading refers to the outsourcing of certain cognitive tasks to outside devices like calculators and calendars. The internet serves this purpose as well, according to researchers Evan F. Risco and Sam Gilbert. However, this comes at a price for our attention span. Nicholas Carr, the author of Is Google Making Us Stupid, noted, "The net is chipping away my capacity for concentration and contemplation. My mind now expects to take in information the way the net distributes it in a swiftly moving stream of particles. Once I was a scuba diver in the sea of words. Now I zip along the surface like a guy on a jet ski." Research from the past few years has reinforced this idea. Overall, people are just tending to skim across the surface of wide swaths of information instead of just focusing on one thing at a time. These changes in our minds are reinforced by changes in technology and vice versa. For example, Twitter's longtime 140 character limit was originally in place to accommodate character limits in SMS messages, which the app was initially made for. However, even as messaging grew to hold more and more text, the Twitter format stuck. Now we're used to skimming endless timelines of short content, like bumping the surface of the water on a jet ski. So, how many people actually agree with these findings and think that the internet's changing their brains?
Yes, I think my internet use has affected my mind. I find that I'm really being distracted for a long time sometimes, and I eventually do come back to the reason that I was on the internet to begin with, but it can take a long time.
So, what does all this mean? How is it going to affect me and my generation? The internet is changing how information is stored and communicated. We have access to what seems like limitless information that only a few decades ago would have taken much longer to obtain. The upside is that we have so much more access and opportunity to learn new things. The downside, though, is what that eventually does to our brain. So, where's the happy medium? How do we get the most out of digital media without it hurting our cognition? Honestly, even as I was writing this script, I was bouncing between all the 10 plus tabs I had open for research, and I found it really hard to focus on whatever section I was working on. One thing that helped me a little was focusing on one article at a time and dragging that tab over next to what I was working on so I had it right there. I also try to make sure I'm using the internet in ways that will expand my mind, like reading books and blogs online, watching movies, and listening to new music. Thanks to the internet, I have much easier access to the media that I love. The trick is to use it responsibly. There are a lot of things we still don't know about how the internet affects our brains. The research will develop as we age. For now, I want to get all the benefits of the internet that I can, while still preserving as much of my brain as I can.